Last year, on the 4th of July, former Deputy Tyler Williams of the Hendry County Sheriff's Office arrested a man suspected of burglarizing a residence. As captured on his body-worn camera, former Deputy Williams placed the suspect in handcuffs and walked the man to the rear of his police vehicle to conduct a search. Former Deputy Williams' supervisor was also on the scene, and the two had a conversation about the events leading to the suspect being placed in handcuffs. During this conversation, the suspect attempted to talk to former Deputy Williams and to interject himself into the conversation on multiple occasions. In response to one of those times, former Deputy Williams grabbed the man by the shoulders and threw him to the ground. Handcuffed, the victim was unable to brace himself for the fall. Former Deputy Williams threw the man to the ground with sufficient force that he was rendered unconscious after his chin hit the asphalt. As the body camera shows, former Deputy Williams stood over the man as he lay motionless and yelled at him, telling him that he was warned to not push against former Deputy Williams. Thanks to the dedicated work of the Hendry County Sheriff's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a thorough investigation was conducted into this incident. The Hendry County Sheriff's Office terminated Williams' employment for multiple policy violations. And last week, a federal grand jury sitting here in Fort Myers, Florida, returned a criminal indictment against former Deputy Williams, charging him with 2 counts. One count, which is a civil rights violation, and a second count, which is a count for obstructing justice by falsifying a police report. These are merely allegations, and former Deputy Williams is to be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. The charges that have been brought against him in federal court are serious. He is facing up to 30 years in federal prison. This case is an excellent example of how my office, through our partnerships with our local and federal law enforcement agencies, seeks to hold accountable those in positions of public trust. But we are equally committed to protecting those persons when their safety is jeopardized. Law enforcement officials and public servants should not be threatened with harm for doing their jobs. The work that they do is important, and my office is firmly committed to protecting them. In just the last 2 years, for example, my office has criminally prosecuted a number of cases involving assaults against law enforcement officers. We've obtained a federal indictment of a defendant who forcibly was alleged to have used knives during an arrest against federal agents. We have obtained convictions in federal court of 2 defendants who assaulted federal corrections officers, convictions that resulted in sentences of over 11 years for one defendant and 20 years for a second defendant. And we secured a guilty plea from a defendant who opened fire on federal agents and police officers during a high-speed chase, a guilty plea for which the defendant is facing a minimum of 28 years in federal prison, up to life. The protections of my office and our law enforcement partners extend to every civil servant. For example, in December, my office announced the filing of 2 federal complaints charging 5 individuals with armed robberies of United States postal letter carriers. In a separate case, another defendant was sentenced to more than 9 years in federal prison after robbing a letter carrier at gunpoint. The civil rights prosecution that is being announced here today and the other cases that I've mentioned reflect my office's commitment to fairly enforcing the law. We are dedicated to holding individuals in trusted positions accountable for their actions, and we are equally committed to ensuring that they receive our protections when they are threatened or attacked. Our pursuit of justice is unwavering. I stand before you here today with a firm commitment in fostering accountability and restoring trust in our institutions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. But I tell you what, when I watched the body camera, I was shocked and I was appalled. You know, when we swear a deputy in, he has great power, and with that comes great responsibility. And what I saw on this body camera, it violated the trust of our community. And that trust is so sacred, and we work very hard to keep that trust between our deputies and our community of Hendry County, which is one of the reasons why we have body cameras, because it documents everything that they do. And, you know, initially when I saw this, again, shock and awe. He was placed on administrative leave immediately. We forwarded it over to the United States attorneys for a federal investigation, and he was ultimately terminated. So I just want to thank the attorneys for the job that they did and for the cooperation. So with that, I just hope that the community knows that we will still strive to keep that trust within our community. Thank you.